There's a version of self-help that tells us that caring about your appearance is shallow, that real self-improvement is supposed to happen on the inside, and it's supposed to be invisible, and anything else is a distraction. I disagree, and the science does too. Today, we're talking about the halo effect, the psychology behind why a few small intentional changes can shift how the world sees you almost instantly, and even more importantly, how they change the way that you see yourself. Hey loves, welcome back to the Perfect Sunday podcast. Before we dive into the halo effect, let's go over this week's Sunday obsession. A couple of weeks ago, my friend gave me a new skincare product to try. It's called the Neuro Smooth Face Serum from Jan Marini. She just said it's supposed to give you glass skin, and as I already use a couple of products from the brand, I was happy to give this one a try. The first morning after I used it, my skin was fine. I can't say that there was anything amazing or really even anything noticeable, but I kept going with it. And over the next week, I started waking up to the most hydrated and glowing skin. I also noticed that it helped fade some marks from a past breakout much faster. The worst part of getting a pimple for me is how long it takes for the pigmentation mark to fade afterwards. So that was nice. And then it's filled with peptides and collagen stimulators that are supposed to reduce the appearance of pores and refine your skin's texture. So as much as I'm already loving the product and enjoying waking up with what's probably the closest my face has ever looked to having glass skin, I hope with further use, it just continues to get even better. And as someone who takes their skincare routine very seriously, I'm always excited to share what's working. So that is my new Sunday obsession. So before I get into what the halo effect actually is, I want to tell you about when I began to start really paying attention to all this in the first place, as well as the lessons that it taught me about the way people show up in the world. I'll start by saying that I was a very observant child. I was always watching and studying people, and I got very good at noticing subtle facial expressions, pitch shifts in people's voices, and involuntary reactions like pupils dilating when a person saw something they liked, or their eyes would go cold, or their mouth tightening in dislike of something. This all just became very second nature to me. I'm sure that being that watchful and vigilant as a child is a trauma response, but I won't say that it hasn't been useful in life. I also really started paying attention to how a person was treated based on their appearance, and my parents were the first big lesson in this. First, there was my mom, who never seemed to care about what she was wearing or how she looked, versus my dad, who always made sure to iron his button-down shirt and polish his shoes before going into town. My mom was, for the most part, pretty responsible and on top of her shit, but despite that, I oftentimes saw people give her the once over, and then they were just dismissive of her or even rude. Then there was, again, my dad, who would literally be high on crack, but people were always nice, helpful, and polite, or willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. And at that young of an age, I didn't understand the psychology behind what I was observing over and over again, but now I know that it is called the halo effect. The reason that I'm starting with that story is because that's when I learned something that I've carried with me my whole life. People rarely notice what's actually going on with a person, especially if they don't have the time to get to know you, and instead they make judgments about your abilities and your character based solely on appearances. I think we all know that woman who walks into a room and just has that special something, that quality that you can't quite put your finger on, that je ne sais quoi, if you will. Well, here's what I figured out after years of people watching. She's not doing that much more than anyone else. She might actually be doing less, but what she is doing, she's doing consistently. And that consistency is what creates the effect on everyone around her and inside of herself. And it turns out that there's a name for what you're feeling when you're in her orbit. It's called the halo effect. And today we're breaking down exactly how it works, the small things that actually create that quality, and the piece most people completely overlook, which is what showing up as the best version of yourself does to you on the inside. So let's start with the foundation. What is the halo effect? The halo effect is a psychological concept where people view one positive trait about a person and are then unconsciously influenced to perceive all their other unrelated traits in a positive light. It causes a general and often inaccurate, favorable impression based on a first impression or a quick judgment. The brain takes a shortcut and assumes that if something is beautiful, then it must also be good. So, for example, someone in a clean, polished outfit, tailored blazer, neat hair, clean shoes is instantly perceived as more professional, more capable, of higher status, even if their skills are identical to the person dressed casually right next to them. It's often assumed that people with clear skin and styled hair and tidy clothes are also more disciplined, healthy, and have their life together. Studies show that attractive people are more likely to be hired, receive higher salaries, and be perceived as more competent. The data shows the same thing over and over and over again, whether it's in dating, in social settings, or in job interviews. It's important to note that it works in reverse too. The opposite of the halo effect is the reverse halo effect, also called the horn effect, where one negative perception bleeds out into a generally negative impression of someone, even on traits that have nothing to do with each other. I think it's very important to say out loud that I don't love that this is how people work. It would be nice if we were all evaluated purely on our character and our skills, but it is what it is, and I don't think that's going to be changing anytime soon. So instead of resisting it and pretending that this doesn't exist, I personally choose to understand it and use it in a way that works in my favor. And I think that you should be doing the same thing too. And there's a part that nobody talks about, and that's the part we're going to come back to at the end of this episode. The halo effect doesn't just work on you, it works for you from the inside out. So when you're consistently doing these small things, and we'll get into what they are, something shifts internally. You walk differently, you speak differently, you stop shrinking, and what other people read as she has her life together isn't actually a performance. It's what genuine self-care starts to look like on your body. Keep that in the back of your pocket as I walk through these habits because every single one of them is doing two things at once. Now that we know what the halo effect is, let's talk about the easiest, highest return ways that you can make it work for you. Because if you try to optimize everything, it's overwhelming and you will most likely burn out fast, especially if you have kids and a job and other hobbies besides your physical appearance. And it's unnecessary, honestly. The truth is, you only need to refine a few high impact areas to shift how people perceive you almost instantly. So we're starting with skincare. And right now, I'm only talking about your face because I am holding the assumption that everyone's taking showers every day and there's no need to be getting into that. I know most people don't enjoy geeking out on skincare products and the science behind growth factors and peptides and all these different acids, but we all need a consistent skincare routine. It doesn't have to be elaborate, but it does need to be consistent to see the results. If you don't currently have one, you can start with a gentle face cleanser, a good sunscreen to protect your skin, and a makeup remover. And then from there, you can just add products for your specific skin needs. And then, very, very importantly, we are never, ever, ever, ever going to bed without first removing sunscreen, makeup, and the dirt and the grime of the day off of our face. Clean, hydrated, glowing skin will always be the foundation of your entire look. And the cleaner your skin is, the less time you're going to need to spend on makeup or doing anything else. I know washing your face doesn't sound life-changing, but stay with me. Every time you dedicate 5 or 10 minutes to your self-care routine, you're telling yourself that you are worthy. And that little message, repeated every single night, is actually how confidence gets built. Not from big, dramatic moments, but from keeping small promises and prioritizing yourself. Over time, people can see the results physically and feel it energetically. After you have your skincare locked in, we're going to be moving on to your brows because they really are one of the most essential features for the way that they just frame your face and provide structure to your entire look. Properly shaped, filled in brows can lift the eye area, create a more youthful appearance, and just enhance your overall facial symmetry. If you can get them professionally shaped every now and then, it's 100% worth it. And if not, just take a minute every morning to brush them with a spoolie, shape them with some gel, and fill in any sparse areas if needed. And if you are going in with tweezers, I'd probably say to just err on the side of caution to avoid over tweezing. My poor brows have gotten so thin over the years that I no longer have to pluck them. A very random and annoying symptom of Hashimoto's and hyperthyroidism is thin, sparse brows, particularly on the outer third or tail end of the brow. But I still trim them with mini scissors to keep their shape, and I fill them in every single day. It takes less than a minute, and if there's only one thing that I could do before leaving my house, it is fill in my brows. Now, nails, whether you keep them long or short, doesn't really matter. What matters is that they're clean and well maintained. They don't even need polished. In fact, I think it's better to have no polish on rather than have like chipped, grown out polish. It's best to just do whatever it is that you can keep up with. When it comes to your lips, the dry, crusty lips have to go. I'm sorry. It really doesn't matter how much time you spend perfecting everything else. If you show up with a full face of makeup and dry, flaky lips, that's what people are going to notice, and it just takes away from everything else. And it's such an easy thing to avoid. Use a washcloth in the shower to gently exfoliate, then keep some lip balm or Aquaphor around and use that throughout the day to just keep your lips hydrated. These 3 things really take less than 5 minutes total, and they don't even particularly stand out to people, but they instantly make you look better. And even more importantly, they signal to you that you take care of yourself. Your nervous system is paying attention to what you do in the mirror, even when you're not aware of it. Moving on to hair. Hair doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be kept clean and tidy. And actually, side note, I started coloring my hair when I was a teenager, and over the years, it's been every shade of blonde, auburn, brown, and black. And I did have fun with it, but towards the end of my 30s, I was finally just over it. I didn't want to deal with hair appointments anymore, the upkeep of constantly having to touch up my roots, the damage that was happening from all the chemicals. So it's been 4 years now since I last colored my hair, and it really was just the best decision. This is one of those instances where doing less really pays off. My hair is healthier now, which means it's easier and quicker to style. It's finally grown to a length that I'm really happy with. And because there's no longer any chemical damage happening, I can go much longer between cuts and my hair still looks good. The point in saying all this is that sometimes the improvements can come from doing less instead of doing more. But one of the best things that you can do is come up with 2 or 3 go-to hairstyles that you know always look good. Maybe it's a sleek low bun, a soft blowout, or a clean middle part ponytail. You're best off mastering one way to style your hair really, really well, and then making that your signature style. This just removes the overthinking and the decision fatigue. You always will have a polished default that you know you like and that you know looks good. I usually wash and style my hair once or twice a week at most, depending on how much I'm working out. And I pretty much style it the same way every single time. Do I think I'm kind of boring sometimes? For sure. But I know my hair is clean, healthy, and it looks good. So it doesn't really matter. I use a claw clip when I want it off my face. I throw it in a low braid or ponytail when I'm working out. And I don't really put any more thought into it than that. And the reason that this works isn't just about the decision fatigue. It's that you stop questioning yourself in the mirror and you walk out the door with confidence in the way that you look. When it comes to makeup, I don't think it's necessary like the other grooming habits, especially if you have great skin and really nice hair. That said, I think that we should all have, at the very least, a 5-minute makeup routine down pat for the days that you want to give just a little bit extra. For me, that's concealer to brighten under my eyes and hide my lack of sleep or any pigmentation marks from breakouts, bronzer and blush, then filling in my brows and finishing with lipstick. I always have lip color on because I am always cold and my lips tend to look bluish. So if I don't have lipstick on, I just look dead. That's my minimum. It takes about 5 minutes. Half the time I do it in the car, and that's okay because I know I'm going to feel good how I'm showing up, even if I am being rushed. Then on days when I have more time or energy, or depending on where I'm going, I'll add eyeliner and mascara and anything else. But you can and should build your routine around what it is that you find most important to enhance or conceal. Because once you know what makes you feel like yourself, you stop spending the mental energy deciding whether you're presentable. You just are. And the confidence and the mental space that you gain is worth more than the time you spent putting on the makeup to begin with. Now, this one doesn't get talked about enough, and I genuinely think it's one of the most powerful tools to have in your arsenal. Scent is one of the most primal and emotionally charged senses we have. It bypasses logic entirely and goes straight to memory and emotion, which means how you smell is leaving an impression even after you've left the room. A signature scent, something that consistently smells clean, warm, or beautiful, or whatever your preference is, becomes a part of how people remember and experience you. It adds another layer to the impression that you're creating, and you don't need an expensive perfume collection either. You just need one or two scents that you love and feel like you, and wear them consistently. Layering a body lotion and a complementary scent before your perfume also makes it last so much longer and is a small thing that makes a big, big difference. And here's the part that I really love about scent. It's actually more for you than for anyone else. Every time that you reach for that bottle, you're reminded that you take care of yourself, that you matter enough to smell beautiful, and other people are just getting a passing impression. You get the daily reminder. In fact, I spritz myself before going to bed every single night just because I like falling asleep enjoying a scent that I really, really love. And let's not overlook the basics. Deodorant, clean laundry, fresh breath. These aren't glamorous, but they are non-negotiable because no amount of good skincare or style will recover from their absence. Moving on to your wardrobe, everyone's personal style is different, but if your clothes are clean, wrinkle-free, and fit your body well, you're automatically going to look elevated, even in the most simplest of outfits. And if you want to make your life a lot easier, I recommend you remove any clothes that you don't love or that you haven't reached for in the last year or so from your closet, and then build a basic uniform and just wear variations of that every single day. For example, if you were to walk into my closet, you would see that pretty much all my clothes are of a neutral palette. I wear black, blues, browns, and white. I think I have one green shirt that I don't wear. I used to buy other colors, but I never really wore them. And on the rare occasion that I did wear a brighter color, I didn't feel comfortable or feel like myself. So those items just sat in my closet, taking up space. Now I don't even bother buying outside of my preferred color palette, with the exception probably being swimsuits and sometimes a dress here and there. It might be a little bit weird, but I accept that's just how I am, and it works for me. And because the colors of my clothes all work well together, it's a lot easier to pull together an outfit without having to go through and find something that matches or looks good together. Next, start paying attention to the small details like clean shoes, your accessories, good posture. People don't consciously notice these things, but they do subconsciously pick up on them, and they view you more favorably because of it. The bigger thing happening here is that you're removing dozens of teeny, what should I wear today type of decisions from every single week. And every decision you don't have to make is one more decision that you can spend on the things that actually matter, which brings us to the 2 out of 3 rule. Always have at least 2 of these 3 elements done: hair, makeup, or outfit. This is what ensures that you look polished and put together and feel confident without spending hours getting ready. Even if one area is neglected, the other 2 areas are going to ensure that you don't look unkept. So this rule is what saves you on the days when life is just lifing, because some days you're not going to have it in you to do all three. Make sure your outfit is perfect. Make sure your hair is looking good. Make sure your makeup is done. And the 2 out of 3 rule means that you don't even have to. Okay, so here's the part I've been threading through this whole episode, and now I want to say it very directly. The halo effect doesn't just happen to you from the outside, it works from the inside out. When you're consistently taking care of yourself, even in small ways, even when nobody's watching, something shifts internally. You start to walk differently, you speak with more ease, you stop shrinking, you stop apologizing for taking up space. You stop checking your reflection 100 times because you already know what's there. There is a quiet but undeniable confidence that comes with dedicating time and effort into your own self-care and appearance. Please don't let anybody ever tell you otherwise. You feel it and other people see it. But beyond the physical, here are a few more things that I think actually create the inner halo, if you will. Start moving slower and speaking more calmly. You don't want to be the cute but fidgety, frantic girl who's talking 1,000 miles per hour and no one can even understand. Trust me, I have been her. And it took years of practice and constant reminders to slow down and stop rushing through everything. There is just something so magnetic about a woman who is unbothered and unhurried and just present. So if you find yourself rushing through everything, start telling yourself to just slow down and start moving through life just a little bit slower. The next thing that you can do to work on your inner halo is be kind. This sounds simple, but it is genuinely rare. I live here in LA and I see on a daily basis some truly atrocious behavior with people just being like so rude and mean to people that they deem beneath them. And I know this happens everywhere you go, so it's not just an LA thing. People remember how you made them feel, and warmth is one of the most disarming and attractive qualities a person can have. So just being genuinely kind will make you shine in a way that's different than everyone else around you. And then whether you are walking into a room or even sitting down at a table, posture communicates more than most people realize. So keep your shoulders back, your chin up. It just reads as confident and self-assured before you've even said a single word, and it tells your own brain that you're safe. Start maintaining eye contact when you're talking to someone. Actually be there and show them that you see them and are listening to them. It signals presence, security, and respect. And these are all things that just elevate how you're perceived instantly. And start being very intentional with your energy. Not everyone needs access to you. Not every situation requires your reaction. The woman who is selective, composed, and calm is always going to be perceived as higher value. I actually hate that term because I don't believe in ascribing value to people, but you're going to be viewed in a more respectable way than a person who is always available, reactive, and just all over the place. And your presence is the final layer. You can have perfect skin, a great outfit, beautiful hair, and still walk into a room and just disappear. But when you combine all the physical habits that we just talked about with a calm, grounded, and intentional presence, that's when the halo effect really fully activates. Like I already said, I know that everyone's life is different and how much time and energy you have on a day-to-day basis can vary, which is why I think it's very important to build a routine that works around and supports your actual life, because taking care of your appearance shouldn't exhaust you. You need a routine that lets you feel good without pressure or making you feel like you are now a slave to it. So instead of trying to figure out what's the most that you can do, start asking yourself, what are the few things that make the biggest difference? That's going to be your baseline, and that's where your attention goes. And if you feel like it, then you could add more from there. Just to recap, here are the high impact habits that are most worth focusing on. A consistent, simple skincare routine, cleanser, SPF, moisturizer, and a makeup remover. Groomed brows, clean nails, hydrated lips. 2 or 3 reliable go-to hairstyles so you can always have a polished default that you feel good about. An easy, at minimum, 5-minute makeup routine that you know makes you feel like yourself, but a little bit better. A signature scent worn consistently. Clothes that are clean, wrinkle-free, and fit well. Ideally, a simplified wardrobe that you actually love. And the 2 out of 3 rule, which is your hair, makeup, or outfit, always have at least 2 of these covered. And then calm, intentional energy and presence. None of these things require hours of your morning or a massive budget. They just require consistency and intention. And when you stack all of them together, when you make them second nature, you stop having to think about them and they just become how you move through the world. And that is where the magic is. So this week, I want to challenge you to incorporate 1 or 2 of the elements that we talked about today into your daily routine and just notice what shifts. Notice how it makes you feel. Notice how people respond to you. Notice what changes on the inside. And that's it. Nothing dramatic. Just 1 or 2 things every day for 7 days. Then come and tell me what you noticed. So that's the halo effect and how to use it in your favor. We're not talking about being someone you're not. We're not talking about performing for other people or chasing some impossible standard. We're talking about taking the real, everyday version of yourself and just presenting her in the best possible light. Consistently, intentionally, and without burning out. Because you deserve to feel good walking into every room, and you deserve to take up space with confidence. And the world genuinely does respond differently when you show up that way. But even more importantly, you respond differently when you show up feeling good. Look good, feel good, do good. That's it. If today's episode resonated with you, I would love it if you shared it with a friend who might need to hear it. And please leave a 5-star rating and a sweet review. It helps grow the show, and I truly, truly, truly appreciate it. And if you haven't already, subscribe so you don't miss out on any new episodes. You can find me over on Instagram at Monty_Wheeler. Send a message, leave a comment. I love to hear from you guys, so just let me know. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you have a perfect Sunday. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.